However, in the Qal, let me give you one that's sort of the paradigm or textbook example, and it's the verb form savav. Savav. You'll see on page 210, 211 that I use this as an example of a geminate verb. Now, when we work through them, in fact, I can simply refer to the book here. When we work through the geminate verbs, you'll see some oddities. Some of this is relatively easy to deal with. For example, look at the third feminine singular. If we were going to conjugate savav, and we got to the next form, you should know enough to do this, right? This is just like katal, katala, katalta, katalt, katalti. Okay? And if we were working with a regular verb, the third person feminine would be savava. In fact, what do you get? If you look at the book, you'll see this is a minor and really odd sort of thing. Instead of the vocal schwa there, you get a composite schwa there. Okay? Now, why is this odd? It's not a guttural. You're supposed to use composite schwas in place of vocal schwas under gutturals, and here you have it over a regular nice consonant base for no apparent reason at all. Well, okay, this is weird. Okay. But, again, unless you're terribly worried about writing the language and knowing all of this stuff, if you saw this happen to you, I don't think you'd do anything other than maybe blink for a minute and say, what's a composite schwa doing under there? But the form is completely parsable, if you will. Okay? Now, when you get to the consonantal suffixes, however, when we start adding the ta ending, it would seem that there's no reason why you couldn't have sa vav ta as your perfect second masculine singular. Katal, katala, katalta, savav, savava, savavta. What you get, however, and here's where geminates start going a little bit funny on you, as you see in the paradigm in the book, you only get one of those consonants, and now instead of writing the double consonant, and here's where the force of two consonants comes in, you write one and you double it by means of dagesh forte. Okay? That's a little odd, and you'll see that in the book. Now, the minute you put a dagesh forte, of course, that's different. Now we have a closed syllable, which means this vowel has to be short, because a dagesh forte always marks a closed syllable. And finally, the third feature is we get this sort of helping holum. Yet another helping holum. Because of the vowel sound, you lose dagesh lene in the tau here, and you end up with the form not savavta, but sabotha. Sabotha. Now, before we panic, I'd like to suggest to you that if you saw this sight unseen, without knowing anything I've just told you in the last 120 seconds, could you take a stab at parsing this verb? Well, what do you see? If you came to this verb form, not knowing what it was, I think the first thing you'd see is what looks like a verb form and a ta ending. Would you agree with me? Yeah. So what do we know? Well, the ta ending is telling us a lot of information. It's perfect, second singular masculine, right? And we should have a verbal root of some kind, okay? How many consonants do you have here? Well, you're only seeing two, but how many are there? Three. Because you really got the Baith written twice with the dagesh. So you can even figure out that the root should have these three letters in it. And if nothing else, you can go look it up. You got a root, you got a little bit of a handle on what you should be looking for. At this point, a lexicon will actually give you representative forms, so you can make sure that this is Qal and not something else funny going on. Though you know it can't be Hifil, right? Why not? Well, if it were Hiffield, you'd have to have a hay prefix of some kind, right? If it were, it could be Pale, I suppose, with a Dagish there.
You wouldn't have the Pathak.
But you wouldn't have the Pathak here, right? And frankly, if it's Pale, then you need 4 consonants, not 3, because you're doubling one of the 3, and you see what I'm saying? So that may confuse you, but there are some dead ends, even if you're working on somewhat of a process of elimination method for determining these things. Okay? So there's the perfect, okay? Now, if you think this is bad, wait till you see the imperfect. Question, Phil.
There aren't any verbal roots with third wow, are there?
Ooh, wouldn't that be fun? A verbal root with a final wow. No.
Not that you get confused because you wouldn't get a whole one.
Oh, I see what you're thinking. Could this root
Could it
be
like pit ale with
a
third?
pit ale of a root that's got a wow at the end? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, good. Yeah, you're creating problems that, I'm happy to say, do not exist. Now, let's go to the imperfect, okay? Let's go to the imperfect. If this is the Qal perfect, what's supposed to happen in the Qal imperfect? Well, I tell you what it looks like at the bottom of page 211. Yes. Question?
Yeah, I just, on the Savant, because the third, or the second,
You're looking at the rest of the forms
yeah.
that I intentionally skipped to avoid your
It
question?
looks a lot like an infinitive.
What don't you like? This
That
one?
Yeah. How would you tell the difference? What would an infinitive, I guess, look like there?
It looks
An
like a third
infinitive-
hay.
Looks like a third hay that was taken
Infinitive
off.
construct or something.
Well, sure it does.
Infinitives are rare and be not.
No, I'm not sure. You think this is?
I would think that would be Savant, infinitive construct.
All right, here. Let me write this out. I need a pen. All right. You're concerned that form saboth looks like an infinitive, right?
Right.
Now here here would be the infinitive. Construct? No. Absolute.
Absolute, I mean, yeah.
No. What am I doing? I'm making it like a third hay, see?
Yeah.
I'm falling into your trap.
That's what I would, I mean, because
All right, the infinitive construct would be savov. In other words, it's regular. But you don't know that. See, when you get a regular verb and suddenly it's regular, and I tell you you don't have to worry about it because it's regular, it doesn't help you one bit because you don't know that it's regular. Right? Right. And if it were a participle, it would be sovave, and the plural would be sovovoth. I mean, I guess to answer sovave, sovovoth, I guess to answer your question, yes, you can be confused. 9 times out of 10, it's going to sort itself out. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of worried about worst case scenarios. And frankly, going back to the original form, if this is perfect second singular feminine, I got to admit that of all the verb forms in the perfect, this is the one that's probably the least likely to occur. All right?
yeah, I guess my only thing would be, when I would look it up originally, looking at that, I would think Savant, and that's, I don't know if there is a Savant or not.
You're going to confuse us with third haze.
And, yeah,
is
if
your
you're
is your
looking at
fundamental
the
question,
lexicon
right?
would be
And you're
first,
probably,
you know,
frankly, you're probably right. Right. I mean, I hate to put it this sadly, but yes, it can happen that you're confused and that you actually look up the wrong verb. And if it's any comfort, it happens to me too. All right? I mean, you get some oddball form that's rare and unusual, and you're kind of scratching your head. And you want to do it right and find it on your own and not just look it up in an analytical or click to the hyper parsing text of your computer program, which may or may not be correct. And you look something up and it doesn't work, so you go, guessed wrong. And yeah, that happens. It's not the end of the world. Okay, the imperfects now, if you will.